Before the start of the game, place the time marker on the time board. Then, according to the number of players, place journey tokens into the slots on the time board. Select one of the scenarios. Take the event deck listed in the scenario's description. Then, reveal 2 cards from the top of each of the 3 location decks: prairies, mountains, and forests. Place books of wisdom, ally tokens, and feature tokens within reach of all players. Now determine the first player and give them the first player marker. Each player receives 2 reference cards, sage figures, 2 books of prairies, 1 book of mountains, and 1 book of forests. Players get 3 ally cards. Allies determine your tactics for most of the game. Each player chooses 1 ally and places it face up in front of themselves. In Fabled, you create and explore the Spirit Land with your sages in order to get as many books of sun as possible. The game, just like a book, consists of a prologue, several chapters, and an epilogue. In the prologue, players create the Spirit Land. Starting with the first player and going clockwise, each player chooses 1 location and adds it to the Spirit Land in the middle of the table, paying 1 corresponding Book of Wisdom. Players also place 1 sage from their reserve on each path of the added location. You may add a location to the left or right of the row, or place it between any 2 adjacent locations. The prologue ends after each player has added a location. At the beginning of each chapter, the first player advances the time marker 1 space along the track. Resolve each of the connected journey tokens, if any. For example, you may reveal an event card that provides players with interesting options. Also, you may select a new ally or unlock a feature for one of them. Then each player takes 1 turn. A turn consists of 3 phases: action phase, movement phase, and oblivion phase. In the action phase, you must take 1 of 4 actions. Take 2 books of prairies from the general supply. Perform 1 or 2 conversions, that is, exchange 2 identical books for 1 book of the higher tier, or conversely, exchange 1 book for 2 books of the lower tier. Take 1 step with any one of your sages. Add 1 new location, paying 1 book of the corresponding type like in the prologue, plus 1 book of prairies for each location of the same type in the Spirit Land. The movement phase consists of 2 stages. Stage 1, declare a location type: prairies, mountains, or forests. All your sages in all locations of this type must simultaneously take 2 steps each. And all sages of your opponents, 1 step each. When a sage on the last space of a path takes a step, they either move to the next path, if these are linked main paths, or return to the player's reserve. If a sage enters a landmark space, they may move to the connected Fabled Place. Stage 2. Each Fabled Place has its own effect. Return the sages back to the respective landmark spaces, and resolve the effects of the Fabled Places. If you cannot or do not want to resolve the effect of a Fabled Place, you may instead take 2 books of prairies. After the movement phase, all locations with no sages leave play. Slide the remaining location cards in the Spirit Land together to make the row continuous again. Then, the next player takes their turn. The last chapter begins when the time marker reaches the space connected to the End of Times token. Then comes the epilogue. The player with the most books of sun wins. Their sage brotherhood is ready to take the place of the gods.